Hi Reddit. Before I begin this confession, I want you to understand one simple thing. I'm not a perfect person. I've made mistakes. I wasn't the best husband, I could be rude, I could forget anniversaries, I could stay late at work. But I never betrayed, never lied to my loved ones, never even thought about hurting the people I love. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My parents were simple people. My father worked in a factory, my mother ran the household. They lived together for 47 years and died 6 months apart because they couldn't live without each other. They taught me the main thing: family is sacred. These are the people who will always come to help. This is the rear you stand behind. I tried to build my family in their image and likeness. I married a girl I fell in love with at first sight. I built a house with my own hands, not literally, of course. I'm not a mason, but I personally chose every stone for the path, every tree for the garden, every wallpaper color in the bedroom. I put my soul into every little thing, because it was a home for my family, for my wife, for my children. Now I understand that I was building a house on sand, on lies, on betrayal that lasted decades. My name is Richard. You can call me Rich. I'm 48 years old. I live in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. I have my own small business, an auto repair shop that I opened 20 years ago. Now I have 12 people working for me, and things are going well. Not a millionaire, but I've saved up for the kids' college. The mortgage is almost paid off. There's enough for old age. My wife's name is Jennifer. Jenny. We met when we were both 23. I was fixing her friend's car. She came to pick it up. And that was it. I was gone. She was so beautiful, so alive, so real. Within a month we were living together. Within a year we were married. Within 2 years the first child was born. Now we have 4 children. Amanda, 24, lives separately in Columbus, works as a nurse. Brian, 21, in his last year of engineering school. And twins Matt and Megan, 16, still in high school. Yes, we have 4 children. I consider them all mine. I love them all equally. I raised them all as best I could. Jenny never worked, not because she was lazy, but because I insisted. I said, I want you to be home with the children, so they know their mom is there. She agreed, and she was the perfect housewife. The house was always sparkling clean, the children always fed, dinner always waiting on the table. She took them to activities, helped with homework, organized birthdays. I thought I was lucky. I thought I had a golden wife. Our house sits on a 1.5-acre lot. I designed the garden myself, planted the apple trees myself, built the gazebo myself where we drank tea on summer evenings. We have 2 dogs, an old Labrador named Barney and a young German Shepherd named Lucy. We have a pond with fish that I dug with my own hands. We have swings for the kids, even though the kids are grown. We have everything needed for happiness. Or we did. It all started 3 weeks ago. My mother, God rest her soul, left me her old house as an inheritance. Mom died 2 years ago, but I couldn't bring myself to sort through her things. It was too painful, but the time had come. Jenny and I decided we'd sell that house and put the money toward the twins' education. I went there alone. Jenny stayed with the kids. I said I'd manage in a weekend. Sort through things, call movers, haul furniture to the dump. Nothing complicated. Mom's house is a small bungalow in an old neighborhood. She lived there for 50 years. She accumulated a ton of stuff. I started with the living room, old furniture, books, dishes, photographs. Everything needed sorting. Some to keep for memory, some to throw away, some to donate to the church. The first day went normally. I found a bunch of old photo albums. My brother and me as kids, my parents young, grandparents. I sat and looked through them, cried, smiled. Good memories. On the second day, I got to the attic. Mom, like many people of her generation, stored everything in the attic that might come in handy. Old suitcases, boxes of Christmas decorations, some of Dad's tools. I picked my way through the junk, sneezing from dust and cursing everything. And then I came across a box that caught my attention. It was tied with twine and sat in the farthest corner, covered with an old blanket. On the box was written, Jenny. Personal. Do not open. I froze. Jenny? My wife? Why would my mother have my wife's personal belongings? We've known each other for 25 years. Mom and Jenny always had a good relationship, but not close enough for Jenny to leave something personal with her. Curiosity consumed me alive. I knew it was wrong. I knew you shouldn't read other people's letters and diaries. But my hand reached for the twine anyway. I untied the knot, opened the box. On top lay a photograph. Old, faded, but clear. It was Jenny. Young, about 18 to 19, with long hair, in a swimsuit. She was sitting on the lap of a guy. He had his arm around her waist and was smiling at the camera. I didn't recognize him. Handsome, athletic, with a cocky smile. They were on a beach. Happy. In love. On the back of the photo was written in feminine handwriting, "Our summer, 1995. Forever yours, Jenny." And a note. To whoever finds this, don't judge. This was before everything. Before everything. Before me. Before our wedding. Before children. Before life. I set the photo aside and dug deeper. There were letters. Lots of letters. All addressed to Jenny. All from the same person, the guy in the photo. I started reading. The first letter was dated June 1995. "Hello, my red-haired wild thing. Thank you for this weekend. I still can't get over it. You're the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. When I'm with you, time stops. I wish this weekend would never end. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to grow old with you. I know we're too young for words like that. I know we have plenty of time ahead. But I can't stay silent. I love you, Jenny. Truly. Forever. See you soon. Wait for my letter. You're Michael." Michael. I'd never heard that name. Jenny never mentioned any Michael. Not once in 25 years. I read on. Letter after letter. They were full of passion, tenderness, plans for the future. They discussed weddings, children, a house. They were going to get married after college. They were madly in love. In a letter from September 1995, Michael wrote, "Jenny, I had to tell you something. I've been drafted into the army. I leave in a month for training, then maybe they'll send me overseas. I don't know when I'll be back. I don't know what will happen. But I know one thing. I want you to wait for me. I want you, when I come back, to marry me. Please tell me you'll wait. I love you more than life. No one will ever take your place in my heart. You're Michael." I turned the page. The next letter was from Jenny. A copy? An original? She was writing to Michael. "Michael, I'll wait for you. As long as it takes. I love you. I'll never love anyone else. You are my destiny. Come back alive. I'll pray for you every day. You're Jenny." I read on. The letters came less frequently. Michael wrote from the barracks, then from training, then from somewhere overseas. He wrote about service, about longing, about love. She wrote about college, about her parents, about how she missed him. In a letter from January 1996, something strange appeared. Michael wrote, "Jenny, I got your last letter. I don't know what to say. You're asking for forgiveness, but I don't understand what for. What happened? Did you meet someone? Do you not want to wait for me anymore? Tell me the truth. I need to know. I can't bear the uncertainty." The next letter from Jenny wasn't there. But there was a letter from Michael dated March 1996. "Jenny, I never got an answer. I called your parents, they said you didn't want to talk to me. I don't understand. What did I do wrong? I love you. I'll always love you. If you've decided to leave, tell me straight out. Don't be silent. Silence kills. I hope you're okay. I hope you're happy. If you've found someone better than me, I'll accept that. Just let me know. You're Michael." After that came blank pages. Several letters from Michael marked, "Returned to sender." Apparently Jenny had stopped responding and maybe changed her address. The last letter in the stack was dated December 1996. "Jenny, this is my last letter. I'm coming home in a month. I don't know if I'll find you. I don't know if you'll want to see me. But I need to tell you this. I love you. I'll always love you. No one will take your place. If you read this letter and want to see me, I'll be waiting. I'll wait forever. Goodbye, my love. Be happy. Michael." I sat on the attic floor, holding a stack of letters, unable to move. My wife, Jenny, mother of my 4 children, had been madly in love with another man before me. She'd promised to wait for him. She was going to marry him. And then, out of nowhere, she stopped responding. What happened? Why did she break contact? And why did she marry me? I dug into the box further. There were more photos. Michael and Jenny hugging. Michael and Jenny kissing. Michael in uniform. Jenny in a white dress, not a wedding dress, just a pretty one. They looked happy. And then I came across a document. An official paper, folded in 4. I unfolded it. It was a birth certificate. Child's name, Jacob Michael Stevens. Date of birth, October 15, 1996. Mother, Jennifer Ann Stevens. Maiden name, my wife, only her last name was different. Father. Michael Robert Stevens. I stared at this paper, unable to breathe. A child. Jenny had a child by Michael. In 1996, 2 years before we met. Where was this child? What happened to him? I frantically searched the box for answers. And I found them. Several photos of an infant. A boy. Handsome, dark-haired, resembling Michael. And a note from Jenny, apparently addressed to her mother. Mommy, I don't know what to do. Michael's in the army, he doesn't know about Jacob. I'm afraid to tell him. I'm afraid he won't want us. I'm afraid to raise a child alone. Please help me. I can't cope by myself. And her mother's reply, written on the back. Jenny, you have to tell him. He's his child. He has a right to know. If he doesn't want him, we'll manage. I'll help you. Don't be afraid. Next were letters that Jenny apparently wrote but never sent. Drafts. She'd write to Michael about their son, then tear up the letters. Write again, tear up again. She was afraid. The last letter in this batch was from Jenny's mother to my mother. Strange. They corresponded? Dear Margaret, I'm writing to you in desperation. Jenny is in a very difficult situation. Michael is missing in action in Chechnya. We received notification. He's listed as missing. Jenny is devastated. She has little Jacob in her arms, only 6 months old. She doesn't know how to go on. Your Richard was always a good boy. Jenny likes him. Maybe if they start dating, it will distract her from her grief? I know this sounds terrible. But I'm a mother, I want to save my daughter. Please, talk to Richard. Let him pay attention to her. Let him help her forget. Forgive me for this request. I know it's wrong, but there's no other way. Sincerely, Helen. I read this letter 3 times. My mother and Jenny's mother conspired to make me start dating Jenny. So I could help her forget a missing soldier and his child. I was a setup. I was a consolation prize. I was the one meant to heal her wounds. But where was the child? Where was Jacob? I'd never heard of him. Jenny never mentioned having a son. I kept searching the box. And I found another photo. The boy, older now, about 3. And a note from Jenny to her mother. Mom, I've made a decision. I'm giving Jacob up for adoption. I can't raise him alone. Richard knows nothing, and he must never know. I want to start a new life. Clean, without a past. Please don't judge me. I can't go on like this. I dropped the photo. My wife, the mother of my children, abandoned her own son to start a new life with me. She gave away her child, her own child, by the man she loved, and pretended nothing happened. Where was that boy now? Was he alive? What became of him? I sat in the attic until dark, sorting through letters and photos. I cried. I raged. I hated. I loved. Everything swirled together in my head. When it got dark, I put everything back in the box, retied the twine, and went downstairs. I couldn't stay in that house. I got in my car and drove back to Cleveland. I don't remember the 2-hour drive. I only remember turning the music up full blast and screaming to drown out my thoughts. At home, Jenny was waiting. She'd made dinner, smiling as always. Rich, you're back. How did it go? Sort through Mom's things? I looked at her smiling face, at the hands that were cutting salad. The hands that once held an infant she'd abandoned. Fine, I said. I'm tired. Going to lie down. I went to the bedroom, lay on the bed, and stared at the ceiling until morning. The next few days I lived as if in a fog. I went to work, talked to the kids, had dinner with Jenny, lay in bed with her. And I said nothing. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to start that conversation. I was afraid that if I started, I'd lose control and do something stupid. I watched her, every gesture, every word. Looked for signs of lying, signs of the past. But she was the same. Caring, loving, perfect. How could she reconcile that with what I'd learned? How could she sleep peacefully, knowing she'd abandoned her own child? On the 3rd day, I couldn't take it anymore. We were sitting on the porch, drinking tea, watching the sunset. The kids were inside. The perfect moment for the perfect family. Jenny, I said, we need to talk. She turned to me, smiling. About what, honey? About Michael. About Jacob. About the son you abandoned. The smile slid off her face. She went so pale I was afraid she'd faint. The cup fell from her hands and shattered on the porch floor. What? She whispered. What did you say? I found the box in Mom's attic, I said. All the letters. All the photos. The correspondence between your mother and mine. I know about Michael. I know about Jacob. I know you abandoned your son to marry me. I know everything. She covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. She cried like I'd never seen. Not quietly, but sobbing, gasping, screaming. Richard, forgive me, forgive me. I didn't mean to. I couldn't do otherwise. How could you? I asked. How could you abandon your own child? Your own son? I was 20 years old, she screamed. I was alone. Michael was missing. I had no money, no job, nothing. My mother said if I gave up the child, I could start a new life. That I'd meet a good man, get married, have other children. That it would be better for everyone. I was young and stupid. I listened to her. I gave him up for adoption. I thought good people would adopt him. I thought he'd have a better life than I could give him. You didn't even try, I shouted. You didn't even try to find Michael. You didn't wait for him. You gave up immediately. I waited, she cried. I waited 6 months. I wrote to the military office, the Red Cross, everyone. They told me he was missing, that he was probably dead. I couldn't wait forever. I had a child to feed. We screamed at each other for a long time. Then she fell to her knees and begged forgiveness. I looked at her and didn't know what to feel. Pity? Hatred? Love? Where is he now? I asked. Where is Jacob? I don't know, she whispered. I tried to find him years ago. After we got married, after Amanda was born. I searched databases but found nothing. The orphanage closed. Documents were probably lost. I don't know if he's even alive. You tried to find him? I repeated. When? About 15 years ago, she said. Then I stopped. I was afraid you'd find out. That the kids would find out. I buried that past. Thought it would never surface. But it did surface, I said. And now I have to decide what to do about it. I left home that night. Said I needed to think. Checked into a motel on the edge of town. Didn't answer calls. Didn't read messages. Just lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything I'd learned. My wife was not the person I'd known. She was capable of betrayal, of lying, of abandoning her own child. But she was also the woman who'd borne me 4 children, who'd cared for me for 25 years, who'd been my friend and lover. How do you reconcile those two images? I thought about Jacob, about the boy who'd been abandoned, who grew up without a mother, without a father, without a family. Where was he now? Was he alive? Was he happy? Did he know his story? Did he have a right to know? On the 3rd day, I made a decision. I couldn't change the past. I couldn't undo what happened 25 years ago. But I could try to fix what could be fixed now. I went home. Jenny met me, tear-stained, haggard. The kids were at school. I've made a decision, I said. We're going to find Jacob. Together. I've hired a private investigator. We'll find him, if he's alive. And then you'll tell him the truth. Yourself. After that, we'll decide what to do about our marriage. She nodded, not raising her eyes. I agree to anything, she said. I'll do whatever you say. I hired Greg, the detective everyone on Reddit talks about. He took the case, said it was complicated, but there was a chance. 2 weeks passed. Greg called every day with updates. He found the orphanage where Jacob spent his early years. Found the foster families he'd lived with. Found the school he'd attended. Piece by piece, he reconstructed the history of the boy my wife had abandoned. And yesterday, he called. Richard, I found him, Greg said. Jacob is alive. He's 28. He lives in Chicago. Married, 2 children. Works as a programmer. He's doing well. My legs gave way. I sat down on a chair. Are you sure? Absolutely. I spoke with him. He knows he's adopted. He knows he was abandoned. He's always wanted to find his biological parents. He's agreed to meet. What do we tell him? I asked. How do you tell someone his mother abandoned him to marry another man? I don't know, Richard, Greg said. That's not my job. My job is to find. Yours is to decide what to do with it. I hung up and sat for a long time, staring at the wall. Then I went to Jenny. We found him, I said. He's alive. He's in Chicago. He has a family, children. He wants to meet. Jenny broke down, fell to her knees, hysterical. I can't, she screamed. I can't look him in the eye. I can't tell him the truth. You can, I said. Because you owe it to him. You owe him that truth. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. Jenny and I barely spoke. She moved through the house like a ghost, not sleeping at night, barely eating. I watched her and didn't know whether to pity her or hate her. On one hand, she was the mother of my children, the woman I'd lived with for a quarter century. On the other, she was a monster capable of abandoning her own child. The kids noticed something was wrong. Amanda came home for the weekend from Columbus and immediately sensed the tension. Dad, what's going on? She asked when we were alone in the kitchen. Mom's not herself. You're not either. I didn't know what to say. Should I tell the kids the truth? Did I have the right to burden them with this? But they were adults now. Amanda was 24, Brian 21. Did they have the right to know where they came from? Or did they not? There are things I can't explain to you right now, I said. But you'll know soon. I promise. She looked at me with concern but didn't push. Greg kept digging. He found a wealth of information about Jacob. The guy grew up in a foster family in Indiana. The foster parents turned out to be good people, farmers who raised him with love and care. He finished high school, then college, moved to Chicago, married a woman named Rachel, and they have 2 children, a boy and a girl. He works as a lead programmer at a major IT company. Lives in a good neighborhood, owns his own home. He's doing well. He has a normal, happy life. And now we were about to burst into that life, with a truth that could destroy everything. Greg gave me Jacob's phone number. I stared at it for a long time before dialing. My hands were shaking. Hello? A male voice, calm, confident. Jacob? My voice trembled. My name is Richard. I'm the husband of your biological mother. Can we meet? A pause. A long, heavy pause. I've been waiting for this call for 20 years, he said finally. Let's meet. We agreed on Saturday in Chicago. Neutral territory, a cafe downtown. Me, Jenny, and Jacob. No lawyers, no detectives, no witnesses. Saturday morning we drove to Chicago. Jenny was silent the whole way. Sat staring out the window and said nothing. I turned on the radio to fill the silence. It didn't help. 2 hours from our destination, I couldn't take it anymore. What are you going to tell him? I asked. I don't know, she said. I've rehearsed this speech 1,000 times. And every time I realize there are no words that can justify what I did. You're not supposed to justify yourself, I said. You're supposed to tell the truth. As it is. No embellishments. He deserves that. What if he doesn't want to see me after? What if he sends me away? That's his right, I said. You have to be ready for any outcome. She nodded and went back to staring out the window. We arrived in Chicago around noon. The cafe was in a quiet neighborhood, not far from the lake. We parked, went inside. Ordered coffee. Waited. I saw him first. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. He looked like Michael from the photos. A lot like him. He walked into the cafe, looked around, spotted us, and came to the table. Richard? He asked, extending his hand. Yes. I shook his hand. And this is Jenny. Your mother. He looked at her. Jenny sat clutching her coffee cup, pale as death. Hello, he said. Just, hello. No anger, no accusations, no tears. Just hello. Hello, she whispered. We sat down, ordered more coffee. An awkward silence hung in the air. I know why you're here, Jacob began. I've been looking for you for years. Hired detectives, searched databases, sent inquiries to orphanages. Found nothing. Then you found me. I want to know the truth. All of it. From the beginning. Jenny took a deep breath and began to speak. She talked about Michael, about their love, about the pregnancy, about how he went into the army and went missing. She talked about her desperation, her poverty, her mother's pressure. She talked about the day she took him to the orphanage. About how she cried for weeks afterward. About how she tried to find him later but couldn't. About how she met me and decided to start a new life. About how she'd carried this secret for 25 years. She talked for almost an hour. Without stopping. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but her voice didn't waver. She was like she was confessing. Like she was lifting a weight she'd carried for a quarter century. Jacob listened silently. Didn't interrupt, didn't ask questions. Just listened. When she finished, he sat for a long time, staring into his cup. Thank you, he said finally. For the honesty. That wasn't easy. Will you forgive me? Jenny asked. Her voice was quiet, like a child's. I don't know, Jacob replied. I don't know if you can forgive something like this. You abandoned me. You didn't try to find me when you had the chance. You chose to forget. I grew up in a foster family. Good people, I'm grateful to them. But I always knew I wasn't their own. I always felt this emptiness inside. This hole no one could fill. And now I know why. Because my mother just erased me from her life. I didn't erase you, Jenny cried. I thought about you every day. Every single day. Thinking isn't searching, Jacob said harshly. You could have found me when I was a child. When I needed a mother. But you didn't search. You waited until I grew up, until I had my own life, and only then came. Why? To ease your conscience? I don't know, Jenny whispered. I just wanted to see you. To know you were alive. I'm alive, Jacob said. As you can see, I have a good job, a good wife, 2 children. I have a family. A real one. One that didn't abandon me. He stood up. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the truth. I need time to process this. I'll call you if I want to continue this conversation. And he left. Just turned and walked out of the cafe. Jenny watched him go and cried. I sat beside her, not knowing what to do. The drive back was even worse. Jenny didn't utter a word. Just sat staring into space, silent. I tried to talk, but she didn't respond. At home, the kids were waiting. Amanda and Brian had come for the weekend. The younger ones were in their rooms. Amanda immediately knew something had happened. Mom? Dad? What's going on? I looked at Jenny. She was in no state to talk. So I had to. Sit down, I said. We need to tell you something. I told them everything. About Michael, about Jacob, about the meeting in Chicago. No holding back. They had a right to know. Amanda cried. Brian sat with a stone face. The twins didn't seem to fully understand but felt the tension. We have a brother? Amanda asked through her tears. An older brother we never knew about? Yes, I said. His name is Jacob. He's 28. He lives in Chicago. I want to see him, Amanda said. Not now, I replied. He needs time. And so do we. A week passed. Jenny sank into depression. She barely left her room, didn't eat, didn't talk. The kids tried to support her, but she pushed them away. I didn't know what to do. I called a psychologist, made an appointment, but she refused to go. And then Greg called. Richard, I have information, he said. It might change everything. What now? I asked tiredly. What else could change? Michael, Jacob's father. He didn't die. I stopped breathing. What? I found him. He's alive. He's been alive all this time. He returned from captivity 2 years after he went missing. He was presumed dead, but he survived. He looked for Jenny, but she'd changed her name, moved, married you. He couldn't find her. He got married too, has a family, lives in Canada. And he's been looking for his son all these years. I sat down. My legs gave way. Are you sure? Absolutely. I spoke with him. He wants to meet. With you, with Jenny, with Jacob. He said he'll come anytime. Michael was alive. Jacob's father was alive. And he'd been looking for them all these years. While Jenny, not waiting, had abandoned their son and married me. I didn't know whether to rejoice or cry. I went to Jenny. Jenny, I need to tell you something. She looked up at me with eyes swollen from crying. Michael is alive. She froze. Didn't move for several seconds. Then her face contorted. What? Michael is alive. He returned from captivity 2 years later. He looked for you. He looked for Jacob. He couldn't find you. He thought you were lost. He lives in Canada. He has a family. And he wants to see you. Jenny screamed. She screamed so loud I was afraid. She beat her head against the pillow, tore at her hair, thrashed on the bed. I abandoned his son. She screamed. I abandoned his son, and he was alive. He was looking for us. And I married someone else. I killed our family. I didn't know what to do. I just stood and watched her. The woman I'd loved for 25 years was falling apart before my eyes. A week later we drove to Canada. All of us. Me, Jenny, and Jacob, he agreed after much persuasion. Michael lived in a small town near Toronto. We agreed to meet in a park, neutral territory. I saw him from a distance. Tall, gray-haired, but still a strong man. He stood by the lake, looking at the water. When we approached, he turned around. Their eyes met. Jenny and Michael, lovers separated by war, parents who'd lost each other and their child. Jenny, he said. His voice cracked. Michael, she whispered. They stood looking at each other. Then she ran to him, embraced him, broke down sobbing. He held her, stroked her hair, barely holding back his own tears. I stood aside, feeling superfluous. I watched them and understood that between them was real love. The kind Jenny and I never had. I was a substitute, a consolation prize. Then Michael looked at Jacob. Son, he said, my son. Jacob stood with clenched fists. His face was stone. You didn't look for me either, he said. You didn't look either. I did look, Michael said. I swear I did. I traveled half the country. I hired detectives. I spent years. But your orphanage burned down. Documents were lost. I couldn't find your foster family. I kept looking until I met my new wife. She said I had to move on. I tried, but I never forgot. Jacob was silent for a long time. Then he stepped toward Michael and embraced him. They stood there, holding each other, two men who'd lost a quarter century. I turned away. This wasn't my moment. A month passed. We went home. Jenny was torn between me and her desire to be near Michael. She said she loved me, but I saw how she looked at him. How her eyes lit up when she talked about him. I'd never seen that light with me. I made a decision. Jenny, I said one evening. You need to leave. She looked at me with horror. What? You need to go to him. I can't be second. I can't live with a woman who loves someone else. I deserve real love, and you deserve to be with the one you love. Richard, no, she cried. I don't want to lose you. You already lost me, I said. The day I found that box. Our marriage was built on lies. It's time to build on truth. She left a week later. Moved to Canada to be with Michael. The kids were in shock. Amanda didn't speak to her for a month. Brian withdrew. The younger ones cried. But gradually, things settled. Jacob visits us now. We've met his wife and children. They call me Grandpa. I don't mind. I'm not his father, but I'm his mother's husband. There's some connection. Jenny calls every week. Asks about the kids. Says she misses them. I answer politely. But inside, there's nothing left. Emptiness. I see a psychologist. Learning to live again. Learning to be alone. Learning not to expect a knife in the back. The kids are coping. We're managing. Life goes on.